EOS, so this is the lighting software. So basically over here, we have the listing of all the channels, and each of the channels is listed for whatever it will turn on, all right? So channel 1 is our front light, channel 11 is our side from the front, channel 21 is the side from the other side, and 31, and these are listed out on our magic sheet. So our magic sheet would identify these. For now, just looking at what they're doing, it's not so important what they're actually doing so much as how the software works. So in the keyboard here, this is the same keyboard that you would have on the actual light board. If you take and you type in a number, it will automatically assume you're talking about a channel. That's just kind of the way it works, since it assumes to make shortcuts so that you can work faster. Anytime you just type a number, it brings up a channel at full. So I'm making a sentence for it. So channel 1 at full, enter. And when you hit enter, it confirms that. The only one that you do where you don't actually have to enter is if you hit out. Give me 1 second. So if you hit out, you don't have to hit enter, but if otherwise I can hit at 20. And so this sets the light to 20%. So you don't have to go just to full. You can also set it to 50. Anywhere between 0 and 100, you can pick your percentages. So say that's a good look for that. Let's try channel 21. I'm gonna set this to 50, which is the warm from the side. And then let's jump into the LEDs. So 51 at 50, let's go full. So at full enter, so then we can change its color. So we'll jump over the ML controls. So only the LEDs have color control. All of these instruments are incandescent. So they're the source 4s that we've talked about before, where the only control you have is turning them on and off and any level in between. LEDs, we have control of the color. So because they have internal colors of red, blue, green, and amber in the case of these instruments, you can mix. And instead of having, you can pick per numbers. So if I want the blue at 0 and I want the amber at full and I want the green out, and I take the blue out, so now it's just amber all by itself. Or if I just want red by itself, you can do that. Or you can come in here and just actually pick whatever color you want. So you're just clicking with the mouse and it's actually selecting what color. So let's say, perfect, purple. Then let's do, I'm gonna go back to the keyboard. I get in the habit of typing numbers because my keyboard works the same, but so you can see this, I'm gonna try to remember to do it on here. So 71 plus 81. So by hitting the plus button, I can select 2 instruments at the same time. If I hit at, it'll show you that you're selected both of them. So I've given it a command. Let's say 80%. Enter. So now it's turned on both of my backlights at 80%. Now, this yellowy weird color is its understanding of white. It's its understanding of all the lights on at full brightness. Everything's just kind of set to 100. So it's kind of a lie in here. It would be a little closer to white, but again, in this, it looks pretty yellow. So now let's set a different color. So let's make those green, okay? So the front one is purple, the sides are green, and then let's go ahead and make 61, which is the backlight. Let's make that red, pink, hot pink. There you go, pink purplish. There we go, that's nice. And then we'll use the gobo. So 41 is the instrument with the gobo in it. So if I take that, 41 at 80. Usually when you're turning lights on, you generally don't want to just start with 100. The main reason is that if you get in rehearsal and your light is already at 100, the director's like, can we go a little brighter? You have nowhere to go. If you start at 80, that gives you a little buffer to go brighter if the director needs it brighter. But starting at full and having no answer is really difficult. So generally, it's kind of a good idea to start at 80 or 60 or somewhere in there just to get a good initial look going. All right, so say this is the look I love. That is beautiful. Now I can hit record. I'll type in any number. So if I was doing a show, personally, I would now start with Q101. We can start with Q1. I'll hit enter. The automatic times that come up are 5 seconds. So that's just kind of the board's internal color and shift. The up is how long it takes for the light to go up. So any light that is low going higher, this is the up fade time, and the down is any light that's at a level going lower. So if you don't have any changes happening one way or the other, if you only have one happening, and you don't change that number, it just applies to both. So right now, it's assuming that it'll take 5 seconds to get up and 5 seconds to go down. It'll just crossfade, okay? Let's make a different look. So if I do 51 plus 61 plus 71 plus 81, which are all of our LEDs, I'm gonna make them all full just to make sure. Actually, let's take them all to 50. Another thing to note is that because when you're setting numbers of intensities at 50%, at 40%, Something cool about the software is that you only have to type at 5, and that equals 50% because it assumes that I'm rarely going to ask it to do 5% or 6%. So if you type at 6, enter, it'll make it 60%. At 3, enter, makes it 30%, right? So it's just one of those little shortcuts. So now all of them are 50%. I'm going to change the color of them, make them all the same. Let's go teal. Now let's go orange. Yeah, let's go teal. That's better. All right. So now that I've changed the looks, I don't have to change anything else. I can. Why not? Let's make a couple more changes. So 1 at 20. Let's do 41 at full, just so we can see something going up. And we'll leave 21 at its level so we see no change happening. All right. So now I'll hit record. Any number I hit above, generally we just go on whole numbers, is a good way to go. So that what that means is that if I have to add cues later, you get 99 cues in between. You can do 1.01 all the way up to 1.99. So all that space in between allows you a buffer. So more or less we work chronologically. Some people like to work every other. Some people like to do Q2, Q4, Q6, Q8, and so on. Again, it's all style and preference. When you're queuing boom, it doesn't really matter. You're probably not going to have more than 50 or 60 cues, so you can queue it however you want. It is all one long scene, so you can't really break it into scenes. When we get into Songs for a New World, we'll talk more about that later. All right, so I've recorded it. It is now Q2. Every time I go to Q2, it'll go to this look. If I go back, when you go back, it just loads it pretty quickly because you'd never actually run backwards in a show. So if I hit back, it just loads it in whatever time. The actual time up here doesn't actually matter when you're just moving backwards through a cue stack. If I hit go, it'll take 5 seconds for anything that's getting brighter to get brighter, anything that's going darker to go darker, and anything that's changing color will take 5 seconds too. So go, 3, and you can see it counting down, right? So now say I wanted to change the time. I want to mix it up. So now let's make it 1. So I'll hit time because I'm already in this queue. I can just hit time and it'll affect Q2. So I'll make time 1, enter. Okay. So now the time up here jumps to 1. It changes everything to 1. Okay. So if I go back and I hit go, now it just takes 1 second and then it's there. If I make the time 0 because I want a snap queue, go back, it's a 0 count, right? Now, say I want to change the time, but I'm not in Q2. So I'm back in Q1, but I want to change the time of Q2. So then all you have to do is type in the little button here, Q2, and then time. Now, say I want to make it, I want to do the up in 1 second, and I want to do the down in 5 seconds. I do time Q2 time 1/5. Okay, so I'm just making a sentence, knowing that on the slash, the lower number is the intensity going down, right? And the first one's going up. So basically what I've done is I've now split it. Any light that's going from a normal level to brighter is going to take 1 second. Any light going down is going to take 5 seconds. And any light that's changing color is going to take 1 second, because unless you specify color on its own, the board will automatically assume color changes at the same rate as your up time. It's just the way it is. Cool. So if I go back, or I already am in Q1, you can see it's loaded here. So if I hit go, it takes 1 second for the color to change and the percentages that are going down, and done. Okay. Let's actually make this a little more dramatic on the out so that we can see that a little better. So if I want to change the look of the queue, I just hit 1 out. So I took 1 out of this queue, but that doesn't change the queue yet. Since I've already recorded the queue, instead of hitting record queue to record over it, you can hit record queue to enter, and then it'll ask you to confirm since you're writing over it. Or you can just hit update. And if you hit update and then enter, it just updates that queue. So that queue is now updated, and it now reflects that change. So 1 will always go out when you go to this queue now. So if I go back, it'll take 5 seconds for 1 to go out, but that color change is still 1 second. The up is still 1 second, and the down takes 5. If I go the other way, so let's do time 5/1. All right, so now my time up is going to take 5 seconds. The color change will take 5 seconds, and the down will take 1. I'm going to go back. And when we do that, the down happens quickly, the up is taking 5 seconds, and the color shift takes 5 seconds. Cool? Is that starting to make a little sense how that works? If I wanted to change something, say I wanted to take all the LEDs out in between Q1 and 2, right? So I'll do 51. So I'm going to go back to Q1 because I want to know what it's going to look like first. Then I'm going to take all the LEDs out. So 51 plus 61 plus 71 plus 81. I'm going to turn those out. Okay. Then I'm going to do record 1.5, enter. Now, the reason I do 1.5 is because if I'm writing a cue in between 1 and 2 and I do 1.1, that means I only have 9 possible placeholders to add stuff between those two, between 1 and 1.1. And then I have 90 placeholders to go in between 1.1 and 2, which gives me a weird buffer. So basically I go 1.5, so that means I have 50 cues on either side, 49 cues on either side. So if I need to add something else, I can go 1.25 or I can do 1.75, basically just chopping things down as you go, making sure you're leaving space in case you have to add something else, because there is no way to just make cue 2 and everything else just jump one more cue. You can't change the number that way. Once you record a number, it's always set in that number. Okay. So now whenever I go to 1.5, it'll be a 5-second cue to lose those LEDs. So if I go back to 1, it'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's slower than that. It's counting on its own. I'm going to make the time 3 to make it go a little faster. So we're here. So that will take out the color. Then if I hit the next one, it'll bring them back and it'll take 5 seconds for them to come up and it'll take 1 second for anything that was on to go down, because now it's still going back to that look. Nothing has changed. That look Q2 is still going to be all teal at whatever levels I set before. Even though I added 1.5 in the middle, it doesn't do anything different, all right? 2-2. So say I wanted this to look like a flash that goes then teal, like we lose color and then we go teal. I'm gonna make this time like a 0.2, something quick. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Pretty good. I'm going to make it 0.1 so it just goes a little faster. All right, so now it goes, pew, cool. So the difference though, this 0.1, watch 0.1, now watch 0. It's instant, right? So 0.1 gives you at least a little bit of leeway into it, so it's not so abrupt. It's kind of like faster, but not crazy fast. If I do 0.2, we have just kind of a little curve on that. It just kind of gives it a little swing out. So now say I want it to flash there and go to the next, I can do what's called a follow. And on here, so we're gonna do Q 1.5. Then we're gonna shift. And where is it? Oh, follow. All right. So Q 1.5 follow. And then I enter the time. So how long do I want that time to go? So if it waits 1 second, it'll play 1.5. After 1 second, it will go into the next cue. I'm going to make it 0.2 because I want it to happen. I want it to complete 0.2, how long it takes for it to drop, and then instantly go into 2. So here we go. I hit enter. So now I have a follow of 0.2. So if I go back, when I hit go into 1.5, it'll wait 0.2 seconds and it'll jump into 2, but it'll act out 1.5 as I go. So here, and then it moves into it. So maybe let me make this time up a little faster so you can see the result a little bit better. So if I make this up a little quicker, it goes down, up, right? So it just jumps into it and jumps back out of it. If I make something super bright in this, so maybe we make 41 at full, and then we'll do 31 at full, just to make 2 really bright things. I'm going to hit update and then enter. All right, so if I go back, now it still does that change. It goes bright and full, and then it starts to settle into the next cue. Nothing has changed about 2, nothing's changed about the follow. If I go back and say I change the follow to shift delay is a good way to do a follow. Shift delay just is a shortcut to get follow. Let's make it 1 second. So now it'll take 1 second. So it's going to drop down, boop, and then it'll move into the next. So it's however you set that. So you can use follows to your advantage and do as many as you want in a row, but usually I try to only use them whenever somebody would have to hit the go button immediately after the completion or immediately during a cue. So that's an easy time to make sure that you can get your timings down. So like if there's a really big thing in the music or something, and it's like, you can get all of that exactly right. So they just hit it on the first cue and it follows through whatever that song pattern is, and then it stays until the next cue. Okay. So this is just a little quick thing, shortcuts, and just getting started in this software.